With Season 2 Jujutsu Kaisen about to come out, I've done a lot of thinking and rewatching of the series so far. And with rewatching the series in preparation, I've come to make some realizations about Season 1 of the show. Those realizations being that it's honestly kind of boring. I have rewatched the entirety of the first season in preparation for this video, and I was excited to watch it since in the first viewing I had when it was coming out weekly, I genuinely enjoyed it. So I came into this video sort of expecting that I would just be saying that Jujutsu Kaisen is in fact really not boring at all, and has an intriguing story paired with super cool power system and some very well written characters. That's until I got about halfway through the season, and started dreading having to watch the next episode. Jujutsu Kaisen is an extremely popular show that is so far only one season into the anime and has 24 episodes in that season. That's more than a usual season only having 12 episodes, so with double the length, they should have been able to make their story in case to keep people engaged. Right? Well, I guess we'll just have to see about that. And before we get into my reasons, I do just want to preface that this is anime only. I read the manga a bit, and I do think that it does get way better for pretty much all of the reasons that I'll go into, but the anime just really hasn't gotten to the super interesting parts that the manga dives into. But I would make the argument that if you make 24 episodes of an anime, that it really should get into those interesting parts before people get really uninterested and drop the series. And I want to make a clickbait video that people will click on, so hi! So without further ado, here are my reasons of why Jujutsu Kaisen is kind of overrated. Is what I would say if I haven't done my little game that I like to play. An idea that is straight ripped off from the NewWorldReview, an amazing anime content creator with his channel link in the description of this video. Yuji here needs help making a new friend after his old one Junpei became a Discord mod and mercy killed by Yuji. Now friendless, Yuji needs a new friend to be besties with before they inevitably die a gruesome death to again develop his character. It is up to you to choose his new bestie so he can focus on being a basic shonen protag. If you choose wrong, Yuji will become even more depressed and will fall into the QAnon subreddit and be banished from his previous life, as well as you'll be forced at gunpoint to like and subscribe for more anime content like this in the future. Choose now, and I'll reveal the answer in 3, 2, 1, and it was Aaron that was the correct answer to be Yuji's new bestie. Again, if you chose wrong, like and subscribe right now. Do it. Do it. Good. Thank you very much, and now, back to the video. There are a lot of characters that are introduced in Season 1 of Jujutsu Kaisen, and I mean there are quite a lot. At least 24 from the numbers that I'm getting of actual notable characters that matter to the story. Even with all of these characters, there are very few that I actually feel have any sort of depth or real development within them. Yuji actually not even being one of those. That I really like even remotely are Gojo, Junpei, Maki, and Todo. Other than Gojo and Maki, these characters don't even get all that much screen time. Junpei only gets 4 episodes of screen time and yet has one of the most in-depth characters and actually develops and has any sort of real change within those 4 episodes. Todo only appears halfway through the season, but is one of the most pivotal characters that help Yuji develop as a character and is actually himself a very likable and interesting character. Maki actually has some dynamic to her backstory that allows her to have her struggles and problems that she has with her family and self-identity, which goes much more into depth as the series progresses, and you can actually see these things change the actions that she takes in the series, and a lot more later in the manga, which makes her character even more likable. Maki is best girl, don't at me. And then Gojo, which is one of my favorite characters in the whole series, just has a whole lot of backstory and development that we have yet to see in the season, but we can still see it in his character. Gojo manages to accomplish something in a character that is just extremely underrated. We can tell from his actions that he takes in the season what his backstory sort of looks like, and why it is that way. We get subtle cues throughout the season that hints us and leads us through his life and his story. He also has the ideology of fuck old people, which I relate to quite a lot. Characters like these are what can make an anime such a great one. It just sucks that these characters are kinda where it ends for Jujutsu Kaisen Season 1. To go into the characters that I think are lacking, I think there is no better character to go into than Yuji Itadori himself. Yuji is bland. He is boring. He is just another shonen protagonist that really doesn't stray from the normal. I would even say that he's an exceptionally bland protagonist when I compare him to other shonen protags. We get him for all 24 episodes, over 400 minutes of content of a show that has Yuji as the main character. And even with all this time that we spent with him, all of these moments that should lead and develop his character, all just leading to really nothing but a couple of very small developments and then one big development with Junpei. Otherwise, there was practically nothing at all with him for the entire first season. I will again give credit for the Junpei development. That was probably the best 4 episodes of the season, and it truly was a very well done development for Yuji and what his character becomes by the end of the season. It also sets in stone for the tone of what's to come after the first season as well. But really otherwise, I struggle to find too much development to his character. He does things for others and he's happy-go-lucky most of the time, and they made him just extremely overpowered right off the bat. But to be fair, they made him unable to control that power too well and made him learn cursed energy, which was nice to see rather than him being a master of it right away, even if he can Black Flash multiple times in a row already. Overall, he's just boring. He is just bland. He is just a shonen protagonist for way too long. And here I will again say, I know that this gets better. I know that this whole season was more so just kind of a prep for what's to come in later seasons, but instead of having an entire season of prep, they should have had some more development in this season that they could have given Yuji and made it just even a little bit more interesting. Characters aren't the only thing I really didn't like about the first season of Jujutsu Kaisen. Another part of the season I didn't like was that the entire season sort of felt like it was just full of filler. Don't get me wrong, there is a lot of action in the series. Hell, pretty much every episode of the season has some sort of fighting action in it. But even if the action had important parts or had something on the line for the fight, it really didn't feel like anything mattered or was very important. They were fighting for their lives, but half of the time the seriousness of the fights were taken out by one of the characters not taking it seriously, or by something in the fight just throwing you out of this tension of the situation. The animations of these fights look sort of good most of the time, but some of it really took some cuts on the budget and decisions to make other animations look amazing, and it does show throughout the series. As well as the fights being a little boring and the animation having some wacky moments, the story is lacking to say the least. I mean, there is sort of that story that we get to follow as it progresses, but it really does just kind of bounce everywhere every couple of episodes, and there feels like there's not really much gluing it together. This causes the story to, frankly, be pretty boring and lackluster for such a highly hyped and loved shonen anime. When doing more research about Jujutsu Kaisen, I even got a lot of people saying that they couldn't keep watching after episode 7 or so from the series just being a drag and boring to watch. And I really don't blame them all that much. The whole season felt like nothing of any matter was happening for all 24 episodes. It really throws everybody outside of the immersion and just plays out its super bland story. Like I said before, it's a shonen anime, and it really does take that to heart. Everything about Jujutsu Kaisen screams shonen to the world and very much struggles to make any difference from the tropes that shonen anime have. It's the same old boring MC that has some sort of secret dormant power, getting taught by the extremely overpowered teacher, has some sort of power system that the MC excels at, has a couple of friends, one of them being a super sad/angry guy, get more friends along the way, beats the bad guys who are bad because they want to be, yada yada yada, bam, Jujutsu Kaisen. It struggles to define itself any other way from all of the shonen anime and just sits there in its mediocrity, being praised to the extreme by everybody who loved the series before. And that's all something that does confuse me, because during the first viewing of Jujutsu Kaisen, I really did love the season. I thought that it was a very good watch and I enjoyed every episode that would come out. It was one of my favorite anime of fall of 2020 at the time. So why on this rewatch do I find so much of the show that I dislike and even am willing to call it pretty overrated? Well, I think that it's because some other more well-written shonen have come out afterwards that sort of blows Jujutsu Kaisen out of the water. Anime like Chainsaw Man. Chainsaw Man is another shonen anime that is much more recent than Jujutsu Kaisen in its release. And just like Jujutsu Kaisen, it was an extremely well-loved manga before its release, so it had a lot of hype backing it up. And for both shows, the hype paid off with fans loving the series. But I believe Chainsaw Man was a better portrayal of a shonen anime than Jujutsu Kaisen was able to pull off for their first season. Chainsaw Man didn't really feel like there was nothing going on. The story felt smooth and it felt all connected in a sort of way, rather than the choppiness that Jujutsu Kaisen felt like it had. The episodes felt like they mattered and something was on the line with Denji's mission, rather than just sort of fighting because it's there. The characters of Chainsaw Man I thought were interesting too. The side characters all had their own smallish developments, and Denji himself made some developments throughout the series as well, more than I could say of Yuji or their side characters from Jujutsu Kaisen. Chainsaw Man just felt overall more finished and well done than Jujutsu Kaisen was. But the very important part is, again, Jujutsu Kaisen isn't finished. There is much more time and room that is left open for Jujutsu Kaisen to inevitably fly by Chainsaw Man in the quality. But overall, that's just how I feel about the series. I was again just overall disappointed in the rewatching of the series after being excited to watch it again. Just to sit here and realize that wow, it really didn't hold up very well for me. Even with my explanations here, I still feel unsure about them and just overall how I feel about the season. The whole thing just felt unsatisfying at the end. It felt like it needed more. And to be fair, there is more. But to have that more come out 3 years after the first season is just such a long time to wait for. The manga was there to read more of, but there are anime-only watchers that just refuse to read the manga and want to wait for more anime. You could easily say that it is their loss, and truly it is their loss in many cases, but they want to see it as much as the fans do. So hopefully they took these 3 years to really push out a season that really should be amazing and push new grounds in shonen anime. But until then, I have to keep my opinion that the first season of Jujutsu Kaisen is not all that great. But I do want to hear more of your opinions in the comments below. Let me know what you think about the first season and how hyped you are for the second season. I certainly am very excited for it and hope that they portray it correctly. Also, very quickly, if you liked the video, consider hitting that subscribe button for me. It really helps me get down to the content that you guys like and want to see, and helps me get through the writer's block that I've been punching my way through. I love the support that I've been getting, and I appreciate the feedback and the discussions that we've been having together. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you next video.